What's up, Professor Wergeles? We just finished this code. It's working properly, so we can continue. Here we had a select statement. We're not going to do a select on this one. We're actually going to do an insert. We want to insert that new user. So we need to build an insert command. So if they properly put the correct information, we'll go ahead and create an account for them. So I'll do an insert into our users table. We're going to put in our new first name. We're going to put in the last name. Now these are the attributes in the database. So we'll make sure these attributes are case sensitive, the same as what we did in the database. So I have username, I also had user password, and then we had the email and birth date. Now the values are what the user typed in the form. So the first value, they need to match here, first name. So I'll pass in the first name, they put in the form, then the last name, and then the username, and then the password. We've already checked to see if they're the same, they are, and then the email, and then the birth date. Now I recommend you print out this query, copy it, paste it, make sure it runs before we continue. So build the query, print it out, copy, paste it, put it into MySQL Workbench or even the terminal, and make sure it works. So if I come back here, do a refresh, you should see this query. So let's first type in a full amount of data to make sure that we can test the query properly. So I'll type in, let's say, some data. Here's my username, let's say test2, pass, pass, type in a birth date, type in an email, click on submit. Here's this query. So I'm going to copy this query. I'm going to paste it into MySQL Workbench, and you'll see we're already getting some errors, but I'll try to execute, and you'll see we get an error. Okay, I have an error. What I'm trying to do are these, first name is a text field. Okay, so I need to put quotes around this. I also need to put quotes around the last name. Need to put quotes around the username. Need to put quotes around the password. Okay, you also see the password we're entering in plain text. But before we encrypted the password before we inserted it in. Okay, so I need to insert it in as a SHA-1. So let's build the query a little bit better. First is these all need quotes. So I'll do alternating single and double quotes on the outside, single quotes on the inside. Okay, put quotes around everything. Username is a string, password is a string, email is a string, birth date is a date. Now, if birthday is a date, there's a special way to handle birth date, which we'll talk about here in a second. So on the password field, make sure we do a SHA-1 here. We're going to SHA-1 the password that they've typed. So it's encrypted in our database. Okay, so let's print this out and see if this will run. So I'll come back, update the code, do a refresh. Should see a little bit different query now. Copy the new query, put it into MySQL Workbench. I'll put this on 2 lines so you can see it better. Okay, at least no syntax error. If I run this, okay, it goes through properly. It goes through properly, but with dates, we can, if it's entered in the proper format, it'll work. If the format's different, which it usually is for different types of browsers, the date field on a form may be a little bit different. We usually do what's called a string to date function. Now the string to date will take the string, and also you need to format it. So we'll format it to the first one will be the year, the next one will be the month, and the last one will be the day. Okay, and it uses dashes. Sometimes it uses forward slashes or periods. Okay, if I use this string to date function, it's going to help ensure that the date they entered will get translated into a date instead of a string. So I can search MySQL string to date. You'll see here string to date returns a date based on a string and a format. And you'll see all the formats that we have. So capital Y is year as a 4-digit value, where lowercase y is year as a 2-digit value. Then we did lowercase m. Lowercase m is month as a numeric value versus a full name. And then lowercase d is day starting from 0, 1. Okay, 0, 1. Whereas I could do a suffix or I could have it starting just at 0. Okay, depends on what you want. So in this case, this is how it's formatted. I'll come back, update the code. Okay, where's my thing? Do a refresh. You should see the string to date function. I'll copy this, put it in MySQL Workbench. Okay, I'll move this onto a new line so you can see it all, and put a semicolon, and let's try to run it. So now if I try to run it, you're going to see an error this time. It's going to tell you, okay, I forgot a quote. Forgot to close the quote. So I had a problem with my query. So make sure I close the quote here. That's a good reason to run it, because that little parenthesis here would mess everything up. Okay, if I don't have the parenthesis here, when I run it in the code, the PHP code will not have a syntax error, but the SQL statement will have a syntax error. So it'd be hard to find that I missed a parenthesis here unless I print it out and try it. Okay, but once I add the parenthesis, try to execute it, we get an error. It says duplicate entry. Okay, remember the username must be unique. So I can drop that. Okay, so I can do a delete. Let's see, delete from users where ID is equal to 2. Now let's make sure that's true. I'll do a select star. Here's the data. I'm going to delete where ID is equal to 2. Okay, it was successful. Now I'm going to try to run this command again, which was our output, and it was successful. Okay, so now my query is built properly. I can continue to execute that query. We'll go ahead and execute the query in the next video, continue to the next video to finish this lecture.